Hey, you guys. I just wanted to give you a reading here of, let's see, chapter 10, section 2, dealing with other nations. So, why it matters. After the War of 1812, the United States took a firm position against European influence in the Americas. President Monroe established a policy that would have a lasting impact on U.S. relations with Latin America. Relations with Spain. At the time of the War of 1812, the United States and Haiti were the only parts of the Americas not under European control. Spain controlled more territory in the Americas than any other European country. However, Spain's power had steadily weakened over several hundred years. Spain's control was especially weak in Florida. Spain could not stop enslaved African Americans who escaped from plantations in Georgia and Alabama from crossing into Florida. Once in Florida, many of the escapees joined the Seminole Nation. The Seminoles often crossed into the United States to raid American settlements. So you've got slaves escaping from Georgia and Alabama, going into Florida and living with the Native Americans there. And then some of those Native Americans would raid American settlements. Okay, so it's not going to make the U.S. government very happy. In 1817, the U.S. government sent Andrew Jackson to recapture those who had escaped slavery. Jackson attacked and destroyed Seminole villages. He then went far beyond his orders. He seized two important Spanish towns and forced the governor to flee Florida. So now he's forcing the Spanish governor off of their own land. Jackson's attack on Florida showed that the United States could take over Florida whenever it wanted. Since Spain could not protect Florida, it decided to give up the territory. In the Adams-Onis Treaty of 1819, Spain ceded or gave up Florida to the United States. Spanish colonies win independence. So that was one thing that was not good for Spain, right? It knew it couldn't protect Florida, and now we'll see what happens in these other countries. By 1810, opposition to Spanish rule ran strong in Spain's American colonies. The American and French revolutions had inspired Latin Americans to want to control their own affairs. Revolutionary movements were growing in almost all of the Spanish colonies. Spain seemed unable to control the pressure for change in Latin America. So we talk Latin America, we're talking Central America, South America, Mexico. So Spain had control over all those areas. And it seems like there's a revolutionary spirit growing in those places. Okay, Mexico breaks away. Mexico's struggle for independence began in 1810. In that year, Father Miguel Hidalgo organized an army of Native Americans that freed several Mexican provinces or areas. However, in 1811, Hidalgo was captured and executed by troops loyal to Spain. Another revolution broke out in Mexico in 1820. This time, Spain was unable to end the fighting. In 1821, Spain agreed to Mexico's independence. So 1821, Mexico got their independence. At first, Mexico was ruled by an emperor. Then in 1823, the monarchy was overthrown. A new constitution, patterned after the United States Constitution, made Mexico a federal republic of 19 states and 4 territories. So now Mexico gets independence from Spain. That's another thing that Spain loses. Independence for South and Central America. South America, too, was affected by revolutionary change. Here, the best-known leader of the struggle for independence from Spain was Simón Bolívar. Simón Bolívar. Bolívar is often called the liberator for his role in leading independence movements in the northern part of South America. In August 1819, he led an army on a daring march from Venezuela over the ice-capped Andes Mountains and into Colombia. There he defeated the Spanish and became president of the independent Republic of Great Colombia. It included today's nations of Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and Panama. Farther north, the people of Central America declared their independence from Spain in 1821. 2 years later, they formed the United Provinces of Central America. It included today's nations of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. So in 1822, Brazil announced its independence from Portugal. Soon after, the United States recognized the independence of Mexico and 6 other former colonies in Central and South America. By 1825, most parts of Latin America had thrown off European rule. So Europeans were controlling Central and South America. A lot of them, a lot of the people that lived in Central and South America didn't like that. They fought for their independence, and they sort of kicked Europe out of Central and South America. Okay, so Latin America, Central and South America had thrown off European rule. Okay, the future of these new countries was soon clouded. Several European powers, including France and Russia, indicated that they might help Spain regain its territory, regain its colonies. So, what do you got? You've got these countries in Central and South, these areas in Central and South America. They kick out Spain, and what does France and Russia do? They say, "Well, maybe we can help Spain get those colonies back." This worried President James Monroe and Secretary of State John Quincy Adams. It also worried the British. Both nations wanted to protect trade with Latin America. In 1823, Britain suggested that the two countries issued a joint statement. The statement would announce their determination to protect the freedom of the new nations of Latin America. So, let's review this. The United States wanted free trade with Central and South America. If there were European powers in Central and South America, so if you had Spain or France or Russia controlling Central and South America, is there going to be free trade? No. Those European countries are going to want to just take from Central and South America and all the trade go to Europe. Well, that's not good for the United States. So what did the United States do? Let's find out. What did the United States do to try to keep European powers out of Latin America? Adams told President Monroe he thought the United States should take action alone. He believed a joint statement would make the United States look like Britain's junior partner. Monroe agreed. In a message to Congress in December 1823, the president stated what is known as the Monroe Doctrine. The United States would not allow European nations to create American colonies or interfere with the free nations of Latin America. So basically, Europe was not allowed to come to Central or South America and create colonies anymore. The United States would consider any attempt by those European countries, any attempt to do so, dangerous to our peace and safety. So basically, we would fight them if they tried. At the time, the United States was not strong enough to block European action. Only the British Navy could do that. As U.S. power grew, however, the Monroe Doctrine boosted the influence of the United States in the region. Hope this is making sense to you guys. Relations with Canada. Canada remained a British colony after the American Revolution. In 1791, the country was divided into 2 parts. Upper Canada was mainly English, and Lower Canada was mainly French. In 1837, there were rebellions against British rule in both parts of Canada. Although the British put down the rebellions, they learned a lesson. They could no longer deny rights to Canadians. Britain would have to give Canadians more powers of self-government, the right of people to rule themselves independently. So keep this in mind. Canada was not its own country. Canada was a British colony, right? And Canadians were starting to rebel against that. And so what did Britain do? Well, they said, okay, you guys, we'll let you control yourselves a little bit more than you do now, right? The Act of Union of 1841, here I am right here, was a major step in that direction. It merged Canada's 2 parts into a single unit governed by a Canadian legislature or group of lawmakers. Britain, however, still had ultimate control. Canada and the United States had their own disagreements. Tensions were particularly high when the United States unsuccessfully tried to invade Canada during the War of 1812. The situation slowly improved after the war between 1818 and 1846. The United States and Britain settled several border disputes regarding Canada. Eventually, the United States and Canada established excellent relations, and their relations remain strong to this day. That was part 1. Do I have part 2? Nope, that's it. Have a great day, you guys.